is up, misfits, one and all, to tonight's Debate Me, Brah, the show where we ask interlocutors to step into the ring and defend their point of view. On tonight's debate, we are asking the question, do animals have a moral system? And we have both Bre and Mark here to help us find an answer. So with that, it is time to debate me, Brah. What is up, everyone out there on the interwebs? If you're feeling fancy, please don't forget to like right down there with the thumbs up, helping us get into the algorithm, follow on Twitch, and subscribe on YouTube with that bell icon hit to all so that you can see our premieres or join our live streams. Sending so much love to everybody in chat. All of our members who are also listed right down there in the description below. That's right. And with our evolving badge system, it is lovely to see the Skeptic and Ranting community grow. I also want to give out, and we said I am sticking to it, it's the fast copyright TM version.
Very fast.
Very fast. Of the shout outs here. Like basically, you know, Wendy's or McDonald's. We're sending love to Chris Disciple. We're sending love to Dale Pastel. Sending love to James Wolfe. Sending love to Rachel Holen. Mwah, mwah. Sending love to Senator Cato. Thank you so very much, Senator Cato. Sending love to davegar. Thank you so very much, davegar. Sending love to Emily. Thank you so very much, Emily. Sending love to Calasia. And thank you so very much, Calasia. And then the three commanders of the girl deck. Sending love to the one and only Ian Davenport. Thank you so very much, Diane. Sending love to the one and only Matt Deig. Thank you so very much, Matt Deig. And last but certainly not least, sending love to Regos. Thank you, Regos. That's right, the three commanders, Ian Davenport, Matt Deig, and Regos. Thank you so very much for the support. In fact, you can help us support at patreon.com/Amy Newman. It's into the chatosphere. Wow. The shilling is real. There it goes. All right. Exactly. But we did it fast. I'm excited.
Yes, we got it.
Anyway, I am Amy Newman, and along with my co-host, James W.
Hey, everybody.
We will be tonight's moderators. Our job is to make sure these two wonderful debaters don't talk over each other, though we don't mind if things get a little bit spicy.
A little heated, yeah.
Speaking of spicy, tonight's debate topic, do animals have a moral system? With Bre and Mark here to help us find out. We will also have a Q&A section at the end of the debate, so feel free to tag James W. or myself at Amy Newman with your question, and super chats. We'll get yours sent straight front to the beginning, the priority. With that, we're going to hand it over to our affirmative for their up to 10-minute introduction. Bre, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Amy. If you want to go ahead and share the video I popped over to you, we can go ahead and get started right here. All right. As we delve into this topic, I'll be standing in the affirmative, contending that animals do, in fact, possess a sense of morality. While it is true that morality is often considered a uniquely human trait, A closer examination of animal behavior reveals compelling evidence that challenges the assumption on its face. First and foremost, let us recognize that morality encompasses a range of behaviors and principles that guide our judgment of right and wrong. It involves empathy, cooperation, fairness, and consideration of others' well-being. I contend that numerous instances from the animal kingdom demonstrate these moral inclinations are very real and increasingly evident. Let us consider the remarkable behaviors of primates, our closest relatives. Researchers have observed chimpanzees engaged in reciprocal behavior, sharing food and comforting distressed individuals within their social group. This action bears a striking resemblance to the fundamental principles of fairness and empathy that underpin human morality. It is evident that these animals possess a moral compass, guiding them to act in ways that promote cooperation and social harmony. Furthermore, elephants, known for their intricate social structures, display an astonishing depth of moral behavior. They exhibit grief and engage in mourning rituals when members of their herds pass away, showcasing both compassion and empathy. Additionally, elephants engage in cooperative childcare, demonstrating a sense of responsibility and caring for both their own young and those of future generations, further reinforcing the notion that animals possess moral instincts akin to our own. Now, citizens, such as dolphins and whales, also provide compelling evidence of animal morality. These highly intelligent creatures exhibit behaviors that align with moral values. Dolphins have been observed helping injured and distressed individuals, protecting weaker members of their pods, and displaying signs of empathy towards one another. Now, whales show intricate social bonds and engage in cooperative hunting strategies. These behaviors suggest a moral framework guiding their actions, emphasizing the capacity for empathy and cooperation, as well as the concern for others. Moreover, among extant diapsids, we witness behaviors that align with moral values as well. Among parrots, crows, and ravens, all renowned for their intelligence and social complexity, they exhibit remarkable displays of fairness and equity in their interactions. These birds engage in cooperative hunting, where they actively collaborate to capture prey, showcasing their ability to work together towards a common goal. Additionally, they demonstrate a sense of fairness in sharing food and resources with conspecifics, even going as far as to divide the spoils equitably. This behavior indicates recognition of importance of cooperation and an inclination towards fairness in their social dynamics. Furthermore, these birds possess an impressive capacity for remembering individuals who have helped or harmed them, exhibiting a form of social memory and recognition. This ability to hold a grudge and show gratitude suggests a rudimentary moral framework that governs their social interactions. By displaying behavior rooted in fairness and cooperation and reciprocated behavior, these diapsids challenge the notion that morality is exclusive to humans and provides compelling evidence for the presence of a moral sensibility in the avian world. Lastly, let us not overlook our faithful companions, the canids. Their loyalty, empathy, and willingness to help others, including humans and other animals, are testaments to their moral character. Dogs, in particular, display a profound understanding of right and wrong, as evidenced by their expression of guilt or shame when they have committed an undesirable act. Studies have shown that dogs are capable of discerning between acceptable and unacceptable behavior, and they demonstrate remorse through their body language, such as lowered ears, averted gaze, and slouched posture. This complex emotional response to their action showcases a deep sense of morality ingrained within them. Furthermore, their altruistic behaviors, such as guiding the blind, assisting in search and rescue operations, and providing emotional support as therapy dog, exemplifies their innate capacity for empathizing with their willingness to contribute positively to the well-beings of others without a guarantee of personal gain for themselves. These remarkable examples further highlight the presence of moral sensibilities in animals, challenging the notion that morality is solely a human attribute and emphasizing the shared ethical framework that transcends species boundaries. The study of morality in animals is not limited to the work of zoologists, but has been a staple of ethological research. And to quote an excerpt from Beastly Morality, moreover, fair play is tightly linked to the evolution of social tolerance, social reciprocity, individual fitness, and peaceful relations among group living animals. This is kernels of what we as humans know and call morality are evident in canine play. And to further quote Franz D. Wall from The Bonobo and the Atheist in Search of Humanism Among the Primates, the key point is that anthropomorphism is not always as problematic as people think. To rail against it for the sake of scientific objectivity hides a pre-Darwinian mindset, one uncomfortable with the notion that human as an animal. When we consider species like apes, which are aptly known as anthropoids, human-like, however, anthropomorphism is in fact the logical choice. Dubbing an ape's kiss mouth-to-mouth contact so as to avoid anthropomorphism deliberately obfuscates the meaning of the behavior. It would be like assigning Earth's gravity a different name than the moon's just because we think the Earth is special. This is not a new discussion. Indeed, Linnaeus lamented that were it not for the social implications, man would have long since been cast with the apes in what at the time was considered a great chain of being. Such notions should not be applied should be applied not just to physical appearances, but genetic similarities. Start that over again. Such notions should be applied not just to physical appearances and genetic similarities, but equally to aspects of animal behavior and psychology. To label these traits as moral only when applied to one species of primate among the vast animal kingdom is special pleading at its core, rooted in the anthropocentric concept of human exceptionalism. In conclusion, the evidence at hand paints a compelling picture. Animals possess moral inclinations that parallel our own. Their capacity for empathy, cooperation, fairness, and the consideration of others' well-being is undeniable. While the intricacies of their moral systems may differ from our own, we must acknowledge and appreciate the existence of animal morality by recognizing the moral compass that guides their behavior. We can gain a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all living things. In closing, I ask you to acknowledge the compassion and caring for our fellow creature is not the domain of Homo sapien alone, but a graded system that emerges in social organisms throughout time. The moral monkey being just the latest in a long line of overly emotional animals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so very much, Bre, for
Thanks,
your
Bre.
opening statement. We are now going to hand it over to Mark for his opening statement. Mark, the floor is all yours.
Oh, give me
Please
1
go ahead.
second. I'm sorry. I just have to get my
Sounds
thing
good. I
going.
will in
Sorry.
fact remind everybody that we in fact have both of our guest links in the description below. So if you like what either of them have to say tonight, then please check out their channels.
You wouldn't want to be that one guy who's not subscribed to both Bre and Mark. Bre. Don't be that
Yeah, don't
guy.
be that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be that guy. So just let me know when I'm up and running.
You are good to go.
Fantastic. So it's a pleasure to be here. My thanks to Amy, James, especially Bre for doing this debate, and to you, the audience, for giving me your time. So do animals have a moral system is the question of this discussion. So first off, what what's morality? So usually we're talking about the definition 2, what normally ought to be done, but this is a strange one. We're actually talking about number 1, which is a description given to a code of conduct put forth by some group, in this case an animal group. Note that it does apply to humans, so people which are humans. So morality applies to humans, I win. No, I'm joking. Humans are animals, I lose. Right. So this is the thing. So what are we actually talking about? Because obviously we're not sort of just saying, hey, it applies to humans and I win, or apply, it's just the humans are animals, I lose. So what we're discussing is the real debate question should be, do non-homo members of Kingdom Animalia have a moral system analog to that which can be comparable with the moral systems that humans employ in social groups? That's essentially what we're talking about. That doesn't read well on YouTube, so let's not use that one. So where does morality come from? Of course, animals have these emotions, as Bre pointed out, but I'm asserting that these emotions are not morality in and of themselves. Just because you feel empathy does not automatically provide any indication of what ought to be done. Not only are they not morals, but they certainly don't rise to the level of a moral system. So what's a moral system? So this definition is the best description of moral system, which is a shared social idea of what is expected from the member of a group. Now, of course, animals don't have institutions, technologies. We're unsure if they have virtues or values, any of these kind of things. So we sort of have to tailor the definition to something that morals don't usually apply to, and that's fine. So leaving aside sort of the human requirements, we come up with the requirements for a moral system. The first one I would suggest that animals would meet. It's the second and third where the disagreement will probably arise, that it's ubiquitous throughout the social group, and participants have to be moral agents. They have to be capable of making a moral choice and capable of being held accountable. So this is Lawrence Kohlberg's stages of moral development. Note that stage 1 and 2, you sort of, that's pre-conventional morality, and that's where we would put sort of children, which we don't find morally culpable, and animals, which we don't find morally culpable. This is sort of referred to as proto-morality, sort of the lower stages of moral behavior, but it certainly wouldn't rise to the level of a moral system. And there's also another problem. When we decide what level of morality we choose in that a model, we have to decide on intentionality. Now, the herd instinct is found in human children and chimpanzees, but it's absent in young orangutans. Cooperation behavior of social instinct has been postulated as an instinct necessary for the survival of people and animals evolutionarily, but they don't fall into the upper stages of that cognitive moral choice. So the big question is, do non-humans have a moral system that they implement in a cognitively significant way, or do non-human animals have a proto-morality based upon evolved feelings of approval or disapproval for certain types of actions or aversion to doing certain types of things? Now, I've got a couple of case studies I do want to go through. The first is the Thai chimpanzees. When they hunt, they have hunters, blockers, and bystanders. Blockers basically, they form walls to guide the prey into where the hunters will make kills. Now, the hunter will share meat with the other blockers, and the blockers will get more meat than the bystanders, who essentially do nothing. They just stand around or laze around, basically. So if the blockers don't get more meat than the bystanders, or an insufficient amount, a blocker ape will react in a hostile manner with the hunter that isn't sharing its thing. So obviously we have a case of reciprocity. It is not fair I did work and I didn't get more than someone that didn't get work. That's reciprocity. However, the other blockers will not react in a hostile manner. What this means is that that idea that if someone does work, they should get more is not ubiquitous outside of I am upset that I did not. So that shows level 1 and 2 on the moral scale. However, there's a lack of fairness implication. There's a lack of saying this applies throughout society. So they do not react in such a way to say, hey, it isn't fair that they did not get more. And that's where the upper levels of morality come from, that projection onto others. Another case study is the capuchin monkeys. They refuse to cooperate in behavior if rewards are unequal. It suggests an understanding and aversion to inequality, but they have no problem whatsoever in eating a better reward, even if their roles are reversed later. The monkey that was upset because he did not get an equal amount does not sort of get upset because the other monkey is not getting an equal amount, and he was in that situation earlier, or she was in that situation earlier. So that shows that level of outrage over inequality is personal based. It is, I have been aggrieved, not this is unfair on them. And again, it's lacking in that projection to say that moral system is not ubiquitous. It does not apply to everybody. You can contrast this with the idea of what humans do. If somebody robs an old lady or attempts to rob an old lady, humans will try to stop that person. They won't be sort of, that has nothing to do with me. Whereas in animals, unless there is a personal relationship, some sort of bond between them, animals will rarely intervene. So while it can be a signal of empathy if an animal does intervene, a moral system, again, has to be pervasive and ubiquitous throughout the group. So it doesn't rise to the level of a moral system where there is an expectation for individuals within that group to carry out a certain level of behavior. So I have no contention for proto-morality. This idea that empathy and reciprocity gives rise to certain behaviors influenced by those emotions. The problem comes that when we're talking about morality, it has to be drawn up for all members of the group equally, or at least almost equally. There has to be a response that gives an expectation to the behaviors that some will have. As in, if a human falls down and gets hurt and you could help and don't, there is a moral judgment that you ought to have helped. And that seems to be lacking for the animals. And I'll love to talk to Bre about that. But it shows that animals and children and human children, their morality has developed, but it's not a moral system itself. It is a proto-morality that doesn't actually get to being a implemented code of conduct across that society. So that's my contention for today. Thank you very much, and that's my presentation.
Thank you so very much, Mark. And with that, it concludes both of our debaters' opening statements. We are now going to move
Sorry. I stopped sharing. I mucked up your thing.
We're now going to move into open conversation. With that, the floor is both of yours.
Give it to me, baby.
You're muted, Bre. You're muted.
Yeah, I was muted while you were talking. Yeah, I took lots of notes here, so we got a lot to talk about.
Cool. Yeah.
So, I mean, I heard a lot of like, humans are the only ones that have this ubiquitous. That was yours, like your the big horn of your argument was that humans are the only ones that have this ubiquitous moral code. I don't think that that's true. I don't think different groups of people have a ubiquitous moral code, and I'd like to see that. If do you have like evidence of that in any way, shape, or form, or is it just kind of how you feel about it?
Well, when we're looking at describing morals, we're looking at describing morals for groups. So there will be a group of people that will have their own moral code, their expectations of what they should be. And as I said in my outline, it's ubiquitous or almost ubiquitous, sort of. So there will be fringe elements that won't follow it. But you're saying, hey, this other group has a different moral code, and that's okay. They can have a different moral code, and that's ubiquitous to them. So within these groups, but what we see in animals is some of them will violate what members would get outraged about. Or in
humans too. Yeah, in humans too, right?
Well, that's when the other humans will act against them,
or the other animals will act against them, right? I'm not seeing any difference here. I'm just seeing anthropomorphism here, which I talked about a little bit here. It's where, but you were kind of like saying that, when humans do it, it's morality, but when animals do it, it's different. It's just human exceptionalism is your argument, right? I mean, that's just
no.
Oh, then explain how it's not. Because that's what I'm picking up.
Yep. So what I'm saying is that occasionally, like, animals will do this, and other animals will not act on that violation unless they have some sort of bond with the individual that has been violated. Well, just let me finish. So they will not actually act unless they have some sort of bond, either a leader-subject relationship or some form of bonding relationship with the member that's been violated. But with humans in particular, and our moral systems in particular, we can hear about a person we have never met, we've only know about from a different country, somewhere completely, and say that is wrong, and actually speak up and try and take action to remedy it, just because of the action itself, with no connection to the...
You think morality is having access to information about others, the suffering of other animals or other individuals? That you haven't directly interacted with just having access to that as the basis of what you think morality is rooted in?
No.
Okay, then you're gonna have to explain what it is.
Well, it's basically a cognitive response that we evaluate a situation purely on the actions taken, and not on either how it benefits us or our relationship with that other individual in the group. We make moral judgments based upon purely what has happened and the circumstance, rather than any other consideration. And that is the difference between a moral system, where we are applying it equally to the individuals of our group, regardless of our relationship with them, and sort of a proto-morality, which says, hey,
you keep using the word proto-morality. I don't believe you that that's a thing. So, I mean, you're going to have to explain that to me too. But again, I'm just hearing that, when these things are applied to humans, they're special, but humans, we don't do anything different than these animals. I know you think we do, but there's no evidence for that. That's just your as a human, how you feel about it, because you are anthropocentric. We all are. You have to work your brain against it. It's because you want humans to be special, and this is like the last vestige of it, right? In your brain, you can't let go of the fact that if animals have morality, then there's nothing special about humans, right? But we're not. There's nothing about the way that we interact with our own in groups, or with outside groups or other species, or we even extend it to plant life and things like that we can have empathy towards. There's nothing that we do in those factions that there's not other animals that do the same thing. I haven't heard you cite a single thing. It's just you just feel like when humans do it, it's special, which isn't really a good argument.
No, sort of humans uniquely have the ability to
special,
use rationality and logic. Like, there is no other animal that uses rationality and logic.
Evidence, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but you're
just making bold claims without any kind of evidence at all. This is great.
Well, you're sort of saying that animals have this sense of they are cognitively going through these things, and so you're making claims as well that you haven't demonstrated. I mean, you sort of made.
And I have papers and things that support my claim.
Yeah, so I'll grab your paper on proto-morality. It's from Stanford, Morality and Evolutionary Biology. Yeah, sure. I mean, I can grab you that. Proto-morality? Sure. This isn't something that I've just sort of made up. This is sort of what
well, I understand the concept of proto-morality is that, like, applies like how with the rat experiment and things like that, but that's not a term that I would say applies to something like the organisms that I brought up in my opening statement. I don't think any of those fit into the category that you would claim, that you're claiming as proto-morality. I think you're misapplying the term, because there are animals that would demonstrate like a sense of Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
Well, let's see what you brought up, because the words you mentioned were a moral framework, the capacity for morals. Fairness, equality, stuff like that. The kernels of what we know as morality was one of your last statements. So all of these things that was actually
in the quote. That was actually in the quote. The kernels.
Correct. Yes. So what those they usually cite is either foundation for morality or kernels of morality or a basis of morality. Sort of the foundational parts that we would make up morality.
Because if they made the claim, then we wouldn't be having this debate. But you're like claiming that that someone's making the claim in the opposition in any kind of study of ethics or zoology, and I don't believe you that that's the case. I don't think anybody's making the claim that animals don't have morality but only possess proto-morality. You're the only person I've ever heard coming from a scientific position that would have made that claim. It's very peculiar that you're taking that position. I find it interesting because it's unscientific.
Well, the only examples you brought up were actually reciprocity and empathy and behavioral traits based upon that. You haven't actually brought up any system of morality whatsoever. Only actions which could just be those emotions. And if you let me finish, let me finish.
So I enjoy the enthusiasm. We're going to pull you apart. And then I'm going to give it right back to you again.
Well, I just got to clarify.
So, no. I'm going to finish. Okay. No. I don't. Then write it down. Ask me afterwards because I'm going to finish what I'm saying one way or another. And it's going to be twice as long if you just try and interrupt, and it's not going to work. So put that thought aside and just wait till I finish.
You could have finished by now.
Sure, and you're just making it longer. So that's on you, I guess. These reciprocal and empathetic behaviors, as I pointed out, you have no way to tell what the intentionality of these animals are, or whether they are just sort of inherent instinctive behaviors. We know that animals can have very complex instinctive behaviors that are just a result of what you say feelings. So how do you know that they are actually making a cognitive decision to implement any kind of moral system?
That was the most incoherent thing I've ever heard Mark say. He just said, you haven't demonstrated a system to show morality. All you've done is give examples of parts of a system that would demonstrate morality, which is really weird because you're saying, you haven't done this, you've done this, which is the exact same thing. I've demonstrated via the portions of behavior that would be the facets of morality. I've demonstrated that they are present in all species. Nothing is unique to humans that you consider moral. You have not said anything that humans do or any behaviors that we exhibit that are unique to humans. You're just pulling nonsense out saying that because when humans do it, it's special. That doesn't hold water. That's not a good argument. You're not making a good case by saying that. Give me something that's tangible.
Yeah, so as I sort of said, humans have a behavior of implementing morality regardless of their relationship with that, and that's not what we see in animals.
Think that's
what
bullshit.
We see in animals is that if I could just finish, what we see in animals is sort of just a caring about their needs and the needs of those that they have bonded with. This is not a ubiquitous system. And she said present in all species, and that's just not true. That is blatantly untrue, in fact. A lot of behavior in certain species is not, sort of morally consistent. Social animals, yes.
Humans,
you said
right?
all species.
It isn't humans, though.
Sorry?
We've treated other groups of humans the same way that we treat captive animals. That's such nonsense. There are species that are more moral than us. Dogs treat other individuals better than we treat other members of our own species. We treat other people disgusting. We blew up, and how many people died? We just put with the push of a button. Humans are not the most moral species. It's ridiculous that you're making that claim. We are maybe mid-tier at best. When it comes to morality in a moral system, right? Because a dog will not, will wait for its owner at the railroad station or whatever for the rest of its life. Animals have a higher, some species, dogs specifically is what I lean towards, have a much higher level of morality than humans. So not only are you wrong, you're like morals or orders of magnitude wrong.
Okay, so you're completely misunderstanding how morality is applied, and I've sort of corrected this once, and it looks like I'm going to have to correct it again. So when we're talking about morality, it's applied to groups, not a species, not a individual country. It is applied to groups. So that, yes, humans can be incredibly immoral towards other groups, other species, anybody else. It doesn't mean they don't have a moral system for that group. You've completely misunderstood what morality actually is. It is a group thing. Now, as for dogs, and I'm glad you brought it up, a lot of dog behavior has been trained and has to be trained by humans. So they have training there to make them behave in a way that is consistent and acceptable to us. And not all dogs, and the thing is, the reason why we know, like, we go, hey, that dog waited at the train station, is because dogs usually won't do that.
You misunderstand what a dog is. That is unusual.
No, let me finish. So you that is unusual because dogs usually don't do that. Now, so the fact that other species can do this doesn't mean that they have a code of morality like humans have a code of morality that applies to all members, and that any member violating that code will be judged accordingly. If a dog bites somebody, another dog may not shun that dog or lock them up or take any action against that dog. It is not ubiquitous. But if a human does that, we all will decide that is wrong. That is the difference.
If a dog bites the dog, it may not lock it up or put it in, but it will protect other animals it loves from that dog. It'll put itself between them and that dog if it knows that dog's dangerous. A dog is a species of wolf or subspecies of wolf that is biologically conditioned to live with humans. We are part of their natural order. So when you say they're trained, it's like, well, duh. That's their natal abilities, their natal drivers. They are naturally morally attuned to human living conditions and to live with us and to follow a moral code that aligns with ours. That's why they're the ones we domesticated. We don't domesticate and keep the ones that bite generally in our homes, Mark. We like the friendly ones that take care of us, that protect our kids. So we want the moral dogs, and the fact that we can do that and that we selectively breed that pretty much wins the debate for me right there. That we look for the moral dogs, the moral breeds of dogs, the dogs that come from stocks that have a higher degree of intelligence and are able to interact and be trained properly to be in our homes. And there's different groups of dogs that are not worked for that. There's working dogs that fit like what you're saying. Yeah, there are ones that are the military trained. Those are working dogs, completely different class of animals that you're talking about there. I'm talking about our pets and our homes that are parts of our family. And I think that the fact that you can't see the morality in a dog that lives in someone's home, and that the care and love that it could have for you, same as a member, anybody else in the household, is just sad for me. And I feel bad for any dog that's ever been in your home that didn't get that emotional compassion and interconnectedness, because that's how dogs should be treated.
Yeah, so that's just poisoning the well. I mean, just because I don't think that a dog has morality doesn't mean that I don't care for dogs, have empathy for dogs, and have any kind of thing. That's just poisoning the well. So if you just let me finish. So yeah, there are subspecies of wolves, but we don't choose dogs on whether they're moral or not. No one goes out and says, hey, get me a moral Chihuahua. They go, okay, is this dog obedient and loyal and good-natured and have all of these things? Yes. We don't look for morality in dogs. We look at obedience and loyalty and a number of other. If I can just finish, because you speak a lot, and then you don't want to let me speak. So maybe the moderator. Yeah, you do. Like, I'd let you say whatever you want, and you just jump in over the top of me. Why are you doing that?
So if we continue to go, I can always give.
You've spoken 3/4 of the time, Mark.
But what we're going to do is we're going to let Mark finish his statement, and then we're going to go back to Bre, and we'll go back and forth. And if it gets too spicy, we can go into intervals. But Mark,
you might want to watch this back. I just want to say that. So yeah, we different groups of dogs they're highly trained, and we train them to follow what we expect of them. And your adage of being in the dog park is perfect. It's a perfect analogy, because if a dog bites another dog, a dog that has a bond with that dog may protect it because of empathy and sort of reciprocity. They may think, hey, I will defend my friend if they defend me in the future. But what won't happen is that all kinds of dogs will jump in to defend that one dog. That won't happen if they don't have that bond with the dog, because that isn't a moral. Dogs do not have a moral system. They do not have that system of, if any one member of this group is attacked like that, we defend them because that is morally right. And to think that a dog can cognitively say, hey, this is morally right to defend some dog that I may not even like, because humans will. I will, I completely disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. I will defend that because it is morally right. That's
not
what
only
dogs
do dogs do that, they do that for other species. They'll break up fights between cats or fights between chickens. Are you new to YouTube? There's plenty of videos of dogs breaking up fights just because they're good natured and they don't like the animals contending with each other. Other species are known for that too. Capybaras are a species that often puts themselves between other organisms to keep them from contending, to keep the peace. Hippos will stop lions from attacking a zebra just because it's in because they want to keep the lions and the zebras and everything peaceful and balanced in their environment. Animals do indeed respond emotionally to the needs of their surroundings. We're all interconnected, Mark. We're all working towards a goal of prospering and wanting to create an environment for our offspring to prosper in. It's knowing that and knowing what the right steps to take to get that, or what might be the right takes and the moral takes on where to move and how to move forward to make your society the best that you can, whether you're a little pack of dogs. And that's another thing you're talking about, the dogs. Yeah, the dogs form a little pack. Like you talked about, morality is groups. The pack is the group. The tribe is the group, whatever you want to call it. There's no difference between the way a little pack of dogs are going to stand up for each other and interact with another group of dogs than early man and the way that we interacted with other groups of humans.
Yeah, so the whole thing about one individual helping out, yeah, that's a sort of something that is noteworthy, and the reason why is because there's plenty of individuals that don't help other species and they don't help other individuals, and that's perfectly expected. It's not like I'm blaming animals for that, just that's what happens. So the whole idea is that a moral system is ubiquitous, as I was pointing out, but the fact that there's tons of animals that don't do this, but you're sort of saying, too. Hey, no, hold on a second. You're using sort of a Texas sharpshooter to say every single time it happens, then that is an evidence of it. But every single time it doesn't, it's not evidence. And I'm not sure what the interconnected thing is. I don't know what you're talking about with moving forward with societies. Like I've already acknowledged that it is a basis for morality, but not moral system in and of itself. And until you can sort of show that there is a implemented sort of framework or an implemented sort of foundations that across the board of this group, I don't think you can say that there's a moral system. You're just pointing to instances where animals have used empathy and saying, well, that's a moral system. It's not, because there's plenty of other dogs that have empathy, but they won't do that.
But you're talking about the bystander. Humans do that too. Yeah. Humans are not special. We do the exact same. When are we doing this? Then dogs are not doing it. You're just making up statistics. Most humans don't interfere. Most humans don't jump into it. So you're saying most humans aren't moral. That's not true, because we use morality as something you're saying also that's going to be subjective to humans. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Being complete. Are humans moral? Are humans and dogs moral for this behavior? Or are humans moral for that behavior, but not dogs, just because you're anthropocentrizing humans when they do it?
But we know that humans will say that those actions are immoral. They will agree that those actions are immoral. Can we say the same about groups of animals? Can we?
So you're saying are you talking about being aware of the consequences of their actions?
Well, not of their actions, but the consequences to the group of that behavior, and whether they actually disapprove and say that behavior is not moral.
Yeah, we have examples like the lying monkey experiments and things like that, where the monkey that keeps lying gets punished. We know that there's systems of consequences in organisms for immoral behavior.
That's a fantastic example, because that's the capuchin monkeys. And what happens is that the dominant males decide who is thrown out and who isn't. The other ones, they don't turn on them. They don't. The subservient monkeys don't. It's the dominant males that do.
Oh, so if you have a judicial system, it's not moral. I gotcha. If you got a judicial system with somebody calling the shots at the top, then it's not morality. Yeah. Okay, so you need to explain to me how humans are moral in that system too. Then go ahead.
In capuchin monkeys, basically not giving food, the subservient monkeys have to give food to the more dominant monkeys, right? You're aware of that? They sort of pay out.
I didn't ask about taxes and taxation. Okay. Who in the society? It doesn't matter if they have a just society. That's a red herring. I want to know why having a moral system where where there's an individual that's trusted at the top makes the determination.
Well, I'm getting there.
It sounds like you're red herring me. So,
well, no, it's not. It's because that dominant monkey is upset because he hasn't gotten his share.
That's your interpretation. That's your interpretation. That's not what the studies show. That's what you want the study. The studies show that because the systems, again, and I don't want to say it's ubiquitous, but they use the same type of system across different troops. No. So you're saying this troop will have one on the top, or this troop will have a female at the top, this troop will let the babies run the thing. What are you saying? Then how else? Or what are the other systems that they're using?
Yeah, I'm saying
not the system with this dominant male. Okay.
Yeah, the less dominant monkeys don't go against what the dominant male wants, but they're not the ones that throw that monkey out of the troop. It's the dominant male that does, the one that didn't get what he wanted or they wanted.
It's not about what he wants. It's about the troop. You're just asserting this about what he wants because you can't read his mind. You don't know that there's not communication going on between those monkeys to say this is his presence and his behavior is bad for all of us. You're just asserting that.
Yeah, because of other studies where capuchin monkeys, even if their roles are reversed, they still won't get upset that another monkey doesn't get its fair share. And I brought that up. That was in my presentation. I mean, if you don't address it, don't address it. That's fine. But you can't just then say they understood. They understood what that unfairness was as part of a moral structure. If you don't address the fact that it does not use that same sense of empathy to say, hey, it is not fair that monkey didn't get as much as me,
because they have a judicial system built within their hierarchy that they don't have the choice to get upset about that. You're using your human standard for the way that we determine things within our groups to say that they have to determine things the same way or else it's immoral. When the arbiter is the monkey on top, that's fine. We don't live in a might makes right society, but they do. The monkey that didn't get upset didn't have the option to get upset because he wasn't in charge. It's just anthropomorphism that you're doing here. It's again, like I was saying, you gotta think that they have different social structures than we do.
Well, they might have different social structures, but we're talking about moral structures here.
The moral structure is going to go ahead.
What they ought to do, and that for it to be a moral structure, that system of expectations. Like if you're talking about a human moral structure, you're talking about a system of expectations that apply like all members of the group or nearly all members of the group.
No, you're not. You're just saying that. You've even admitted that it's just about, it can vary from tribe to tribe, right?
Well, sure, yeah.
Okay, so then it's not ubiquitous across all humans. So if it can vary from tribe to tribe or pack or troop to troop of monkeys.
The third time, when I say within a group, I'm not referring to a species.
Right, so you just did. You said with humans. You said in humans. No, you can't say within humans if there's nothing ubiquitous within humans. You got to specify which group of humans.
Structure within the group.
Which group?
Within the group.
Which group?
The group of humans.
Of humans, okay. Group of humans.
Yes, the group of humans.
That group of humans will be different from the next group of humans, though, right?
That's not.
And if they'll be different from the
dogs too.
This is the fourth
time I've had to explain this.
This will be different from the dogs too. It's because you
this.
can't wrap your head around including the other species within that framework. You just want to say, different humans can be different and still be moral. But if a group of monkeys have their own system, that's not moral. Just because they're not humans, there's no other difference.
No. So that a group of monkeys, it won't be ubiquitous within that group. That's my point. It is ubiquitous
within that group, though. You're just making it up that it's not. Yes,
no, it's not, because
you just said that it was. You just admitted that it was.
No, it's not. It's not ubiquitous within the group. That's the thing, Bre.
If there's a dominant monkey within their social structure, that's how it's ubiquitous. Yeah. But you want to break up their social. This is the same kind of bad science that led to the alpha and beta wolf kind of thing. If you fuck up their if you fuck up their natural social orders, then they don't act the way that you expect them to. Then you can say they don't have moral structures or that they have this kind of social behavior. You have to let them live in their natural environment to study them, which does not include separating them for your thought experiments. When they're in their natural order, they always fall into those roles, and there's always that same moral system built within it, but it requires them to live within their social structure. The same with a pack of dogs. They have a moral system within their social structure. The dog in your house has a moral. It's okay. Your dog in your house is okay with attacking a stranger, because its moral system is within your social structure.
How do you know? Now, you've made a claim. How do you know that the more subservient capuchins are actually decided that the liar capuchin's action was wrong when there is nothing to suggest they take any offense at it whatsoever? How do you know? How do you know?
How do you know they don't take offense at it? They don't stop the other monkey from kicking it out of the pack. They don't. If they took offense to him any kind of behavior, they would have some sort of action. When they stand by and let the natural course of things, they're following what they in their social structure is a just system and therefore moral. They don't have a position to take when there's nobody in charge. Do you understand that? Their morality is built in what he thinks. What is moral and good to them depends on how it reflects on their relationship with him. That's how a troop works.
Well,
that's how a pack of dogs work. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the whole point is that moral decision that lying is wrong is ubiquitous throughout the troop. That was your statement.
And ubiquitous with that throughout troops.
Let's just consider one troop. Just one troop. Just one group. Let's stick to
That's
a group
not how you do
time.
science, Mark.
You're having trouble wrapping your head around the idea that morality applies to groups. Well, I mean... Right. Do you study multiple groups?
Yes, they study multiple. People do. They go out in the rainforest and study these groups, and all of them have the same moral structure. That you're just wanting to say it's not moral because it's not the way we do it.
But it's not this idea, this claim that you've made that lying is wrong, and all of the monkeys decide that, even though the others do not take action against another subservient monkey that has been caught lying,
don't have
and
to
it is
action.
only the.
That's not how their society
works. But how do
works.
you know that they actually think that is morally wrong? Prove that they think that's morally wrong. Go.
Because it happens. Because that's how their system is set up. Because they don't stop it. They don't engage. They don't promote it. They stand back and let what their big boss man tells them it needs to happen. And that's the same thing with all.
And before you
I'll just say one last thing. If the boss man was wrong and incorrectly expelled them, they wouldn't have a problem with that at all either.
And humans
That's
do
not
the
morality.
same thing. For thousands of years we've been doing this, Mark. So you're saying humans aren't moral if they have a leader that makes bad moral decisions? No, that's bunk. So totally bunk.
We have a moral structure though.
I have enjoyed the conversation. It has been lively. We are about
oh my gosh, this was awesome. Thank you, Mark.
I feel like I've just been pulled in to be yelled at, quite frankly, but never mind. That's cool.
What I'm going to remind the audience out there is that we are going to be moving into Q&A in about half an hour. And so keep on sending in those super chats or tagging me and James W. at Amy Newman. But right back over to you.
Can I make sure the audience knows me and Mark are like really good friends?
Yeah, we are.
This was I usually when I get into debates I have to be all kids gloves. So Mark,
look, I think that I don't care about dogs is a bit of a low blow though. Like seriously.
No, I was saying your argument. The implications of your arguments. I know it was low. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it is that at all. Yeah, no, that's okay.
Did we lose our host?
No.
Oh,
I was gonna say, I think you just like resolved it. You had like a second where you realized you're like, oh, that's right, we love each other.
Oh yeah.
I was never out of my mind, but I know I was coming up. I don't think Mark's ever expected me to come at him like that, though.
No, maybe. I didn't. That's okay. That's all right. I can handle it.
But this is a time if you'd like to take another point.
He's passionate about animals. You know.
Yeah. Reciprocal behavior, empathic behavior, the moral framework, the capacity for morality. I would all agree with that, like sort of a capacity wise. What I disagree with is that there is that actual moral structure. Now, you sort of said, oh, that was a quote. Yeah, that's right. That was a quote.
Yeah.
And sort of, you're sort of saying, well, challenge assumptions about their behavior. But I can point to sort of complex behavior like grooming or nursing. There's a lot of behavior which is we know for a fact is instinctual behavior that we project they care for one another when they're grooming, when really it's more instinctual than anything else, right?
I have a good a response to that too. I believe all moral behavior is instinctually outgrowth of maternal and sometimes paternal care. That's literally the foundation of it, right? That's what we base or what our social interactions are based on. And so many species, grooming is something that's first done with parental figures and that's why it's important to point out that these moral systems that I'm talking about emerge not just within mammals but within diapsids of birds as well. Sorry, Amy, go ahead.
All instinctive behavior is maternal?
No. The morality is maternal.
Morality is maternal.
It can be paternal too in diapsids, especially in birds, because the males will bring the food to the infants and groom them and things as well. The behaviors, grooming behaviors, group are feeding one another, things like that. Things that that your mother or your father is the first person to do for you.
So if a group has a morality of kill any member that steals something, just say that's their behavior, like humans have in the past, for instance, you would see that as a maternal behavior.
No. I wasn't talking about. I guess I let's flip that around. I was saying the caring side, the instinct to protect, like you're talking about the dogs, the nurturing side. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree that that's entirely based in maternal instincts.
The behaviors that animals do, I guess, is what I'm saying. The grooming and stuff that you mentioned. That's what I was brought. That's the only reason I brought that up was because you mentioned like grooming and stuff. And I said that's if you're calling that moral behavior, then that's based on maternal stuff. So you're just talking about the maternal behavior is good behavior because those are the characteristics and things that can transcend childhood as a way of communicating fondness or whatever for somebody you're peer bonded with.
No, I don't think that all maternal behavior is good behavior. I think that it's much more complicated than
Well,
that.
no, I'm confused.
So
why you brought
grooming
up.
can happen between two males. So I don't think that's maternally based. I think that is an instinct that is not maternal or paternal. It's just a instinctive behavior to those, chimpanzees or whoever.
You don't
is
think
doing
it's
the
learned
grooming.
behavior from parental figures? Because chimpanzees raised without in isolation without another chimpanzee to groom, they don't do the same grooming behavior.
Well, just the second thing on maternal behavior. Maternal behavior can lead to some bad outcomes. Like, for instance, if a parent mistakenly thinks somebody is attacking their child, maternal instincts will be to attack. It doesn't mean it is a good behavior in a moral sense. You've got to separate this idea of this is the origin of it from this is morality. So, for instance, feelings of empathy.
This was your argument. Hold on, this maternal thing was what you saying, that grooming and stuff. And I said that's maternal behavior. That's what that is. And I disagree with you, because the way that when an animal grooms, the first thing to groom an infant organism right when they're born is their mother. So your claim that that's not maternal behavior is just false, and we've demonstrated that scientifically. Like I just said, chimpanzees, when they're raised in isolation, they don't exhibit that behavior. So what are you talking about? How is that not human maternal behavior when it's a response that they get from growing up, that they learn from interacting with their mother?
Well, I don't like when we're talking about. All right, well then you're sort of saying that grooming isn't a instinctive behavior. Then that's what you're saying.
It's a way to show. I guess it depends on the species. And we're talking about chimpanzees right now. I mean, I was.
Well, would you say that nursing, for instance, that mammals do? Would you say that that's an instinctive behavior?
Yeah, and I would also say it's a maternal behavior, right?
Well, yeah, that one's a maternal behavior, sure, because males.
That's why I brought that up, because you're talking about these things that are grooming and nursing. Those are maternal.
Yeah, behaviors. But you went on to say that all of these behaviors was maternal, and I don't think that's true.
No, I would say those behaviors that you were just. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Just those two. Yeah, the little list that you made. That's what I was talking about.
Well, I mean, there's other instinctive behaviors, like, for instance, what was in the debate where I reviewed the other day, that beavers will instinctively try to dam up sounds of running water.
Yeah.
It's an instinctive behavior. But what they're not doing is saying, cognitively saying, ought I dam this water? Is that a good thing to do? It's an instinctive
You're doing a false
behavior.
equivalency, though. This is just false equivalency. How? We're talking about animals with developed amygdalas for social behavior, and you're bringing up beavers. It's, again, red herrings.
Aren't beavers social?
They don't have the developed amygdala to have the advanced social behaviors for the moral systems that we're talking about, though.
Aren't you sort of just cutting out a whole load of, quite intelligent animals?
I'm saying we can quantify it one species at a time. If you want to bring up, you want to make an argument for beavers having.
Dogs have developed amygdalas?
Emotional, yeah, that's why they're so they can
but beavers don't. So beavers are dumber than dogs.
I don't know. I didn't make the argument about beavers. That's why I'm asking why because you're bringing beavers up, saying beavers don't do this. I'm like, do beavers are they the animals in the group that we're talking? Groups that we're talking about.
So that's an example of quite complex behavior that is just instinctive. They will just do it from birth because it is an instinctive behavior, and it's not rodents. Water they dam. It's the sound of water that they try to block up. But there's other behaviors that may be instinctive as well. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is there's a big difference between an animal doing an instinctive behavior like sharing food, because evolutionarily that has been beneficial for it. So that is sort of hardwired into that organism. And something having the cognitive ability to say, I will share this food because it is a good thing, and have a reasoned to share that food based upon its thoughts rather than an instinctive behavior to do so.
And that's the thing, is you think that humans are special, again, because of the way, because that humans are going, because they can tell you, well, hold on, let me respond, because humans can tell you that I feel this way about it, that I feel that this is the reason why I'm having this response, that I feel this way. They can relay that to you, whereas animals can't. So you're taking that concept and just running with it, saying, so since they can't tell you that this is how they actually feel, it means they don't feel that way. And I just disagree with you. I don't think that that's a good argument. I don't think that's a good way to examine biology.
Yeah, so I'm not saying humans are special. I'm saying that humans are developed in this particular area, just like another animal might be well developed in tree climbing, or another animal may be well developed in some other behavioral aspect. Wolves are highly, highly developed in pack hunting, for instance.
But you're just saying that animals...
Excuse me, if you could just let me speak. So humans are developed in creating these systems and making these moral designations. That doesn't say that animals don't have any sense of morality.
That's not what that says.
But what we're talking about when we're talking about morality is a code of conduct. And that code of conduct is applied to the members of a group, not species, a group. And that is something that we do not see animals doing.
You keep deflecting about it. It's going about code of conduct. Again, it's not the difference isn't that they have this code of conduct. It's whether they can tell Mark about it. That seems to be whether they have morality or not. Whether they can tell you they have it, because you can't read their minds, so you just assume that they don't have it because you want humans to be special. You've not throughout this debate. You've not demonstrated a single thing that's unique to humans in the field of morality that other animals don't have. You've just insisted that when humans do it, it's because of morality. When animals do it, it's because of instinct, which is not an argument. It's just your feelings, Mark. It's not a good argument either.
No, that's wrong, because you haven't demonstrated that they do have a code of conduct.
I don't
and being
have
the person on the affirmative, that's sort of your position, that they do have a code of conduct. And we can tell from other, observing anthropology, observing other peoples and other humans and other things. We don't speak their language. They can't tell us how they feel. We can still tell they have a code of conduct, one that animals seemingly do lack.
Who? What are you talking about? No, there's not. That's false. There's nothing that we can understand about humans and their morality that you can't apply to animals. You just keep claiming that with no backing. I've showed you, I've demonstrated behaviors. I've demonstrated behaviors. You said I'm in a positive position. I've said they do this and this, and they have all these features.
Yep.
You're like, I said they have this moral framework, and he told you all the pieces of it. And you said, yeah, but you don't show a moral framework. I'm like, again, these are all the pieces of the moral framework of these different animals. And you're like, okay, but you haven't demonstrated a moral framework. I'm like, again, Mark, this is the moral framework. And it was in my opening statement, the moral framework, talking about equity and compassion and things like that. All of those things are evident in animals. There's been studies on it that demonstrate that. That's where the science points, that these animals do demonstrate each of these individual facets that would lead to what you would call morality.
Yeah, but what you don't understand is these individual facets do not make a moral system. They just don't. And as much as you would like to, and I even brought up Lawrence Kohlberg's States of Moral Development, which basically you basically just will not acknowledge that at all. And that's from a renowned psychologist, and basically like sort of applying this and sort of saying, hey, this is our basis for saying it's moral. It's why we don't hold children morally responsible. We don't hold animals morally responsible.
To our moral standard.
Sure, and animals don't hold each other morally responsible.
Yes,
they don't sort of do this. Only when themselves have been violated, and this is what I'm trying to get across to you.
I demonstrated that's not true. And you said, but those are exceptions.
No matter what part of society they are in. The moral will be ubiquitous, but that is not what happens with animals. I'm sorry.
It's not ubiquitous with humans either. So I guess humans aren't more.
In groups it is.
But you said it would be ubiquitous. You said it would be ubiquitous. Across the group or across groups? Yeah, almost.
Across the group. Across
humans,
the group. The individual group. Yes.
Individuals in the group or groups within the population?
Individual groups, yes. Are they individual groups is a bit weird.
Groups within the population or individuals within the group?
What are you talking about?
Morality. To groups within the population then?
Well, you can describe... you can describe an individual's morality, whether it applies to the group morality or not, sort of thing. So when you're acting descriptively, you can say, hey, their morality is this or their morality is that. But what we're talking about is a moral code, a code of conduct. So it has to
within
be
the group or within the population?
over the group. Just over a
of
group.
Individuals. Okay, so
well, yeah. What else is it going to be?
So then, how do animals lack that? They can have a code of conduct within their group. They do that. We've talked about it all this whole time. We've been talking about that.
Yes.
You've been like, and you've been granting that they have this code of conduct. We talked about the capuchin monkeys.
No.
The guy on top. That's a code of conduct.
No,
it is. How's that a code of conduct? The big guy on top decides who gets what food and how much and who can lie and whatnot. He makes that decision. If he says it's okay for you to lie, then it's moral for you to lie. That's within their group and within the moral framework of their society. That is their morality. You just don't like it because it doesn't match yours. You say it's not morality because it's not yours.
It's got nothing to do with what I like, but that the whole point is, and this is where you're completely missing the point, is that code of conduct is accepted by all members, whereas those other monkeys do not react to the same things that the ones in charge do. When the moral code is accepted by all people, in human society, we all generally, like sort of as a state of being, have this moral reaction to those morals being violated.
That's not true.
That is a moral system.
That's not true either.
Sure.
There was a time where you didn't get to have the females in the relationship didn't get to have any kind of reaction within the society at all. They were just property. So no, that's false. If all you've done all night is make an argument that humans don't have morality, and I gotta say, I believe you, honey.
Well, I mean, we have moral systems. Like, I never said that the system has to be eternal and unchanging. It's just that the moral systems change all the time. We decide that, hey, this isn't okay anymore, and as a group, we decide, no, we're not going to accept that behavior. And then anybody breaching that behavior will be condemned by all or nearly all of the members of that group. And as I pointed out multiple times, that same thing is not happening within Capuchin society. It is that they have dominant males, and they're dominant not because of some moral standard or moral framework like you're trying to suggest. They're dominant because of, hang on, let me finish. They're dominant because of brute power, and they force everybody to do what they want. And that's fine. Yeah, I'm not arguing about that. But when you have a moral system, it's accepted over the group, and any breach of that moral system will have all of the members of the group say that is wrong. Or react in such.
How do they have to react?
Yeah, if you let me finish, react in such a way that demonstrates that behavior is not accepted by the group. That is a moral system. And
so, would that behavior be like standing idly by while the leader of the group exiles the bad monkey from the troop? Standing idly by, is that not a good way for them to demonstrate that morally they accept that member has betrayed the moral code and therefore needs to be exiled?
Well, I don't understand how that's where your prejudice comes in, because you've decided in all of your understanding Dr. Doolittle reading of animals' minds that they are supporting that moral system by standing idly by. Again, this isn't my claims. This is where the science is. That's what you're up against, not me. That is not what the science is. Yes, it is. Science says that we don't know exactly what those monkeys are thinking because we don't speak Capuchin. But you've decided. This is the thing. You accuse me of saying, I've decided what these things are. And you've decided in the best possible light that these animals are not basing what they are doing on survival mechanisms like, hey, I better not cross this bloody big Capuchin who's going to kick the crap out of me. You've decided that they are working as a social construct in order to take care of this society. That is what you've decided.
No. Math decided that we have 10 more minutes, and so I'm going to hand it over to Bre, but if you guys or girls have a final point to make it before we go into the Q&A, floor is back to you, Bre.
This is why I provided the quote that I did, because I knew Mark was going to take this position. It's the mouth-to-mouth contact instead of saying kiss. It's when animals do the behavior. It's not morality to Mark because they're not humans. Morality only counts when humans.
Morality?
I'm talking, Mark. She gave me the floor.
Yeah, you've interrupted me plenty of times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take that much longer for me to get started again.
That's okay. I love to hear you talk, so that's no problem.
Okay, so it's like you want a special name for gravity. What does it applies to Earth because you think Earth is special. It's the same behaviors. Where the capuchins are demonstrating the same behaviors.
No one's arguing that.
Daddy monkey comes down and grabs the bad monkey and takes time out. All the other monkeys stand idly by, just like little children when somebody gets punished for stealing extra snacks, stand idly by. And you're saying when humans do that, they're responding to a moral code. When those children react that way, they're responding to a moral code. When monkeys do it, though, it's different because they're monkeys. And that's just
Guess what, Bre?
What?
Children aren't moral agents.
Well, you could say the same thing. Okay, with a group of employees in an office.
No, Bre. Children aren't moral agents. We don't hold children morally responsible for. No. Wait. You're the one that said it. You're the one that said it. Children, we don't hold them morally responsible for the actions they take because they are not moral agents. They are not developed enough to understand. No, let me finish. Why are you trying to interrupt me now that I'm on to a point?
I'm fine with making moral agents. I'm fine with making moral agents.
Yeah, so if they're not moral agents, they cannot possibly have a moral code. They can't, because like children can't possibly have a moral code not being moral agents. We don't hold them accountable, just like we don't hold people that are intellectually disabled accountable for that. They're not morally responsible. Hence, they are not moral agents. Hence, there is no system of morality for them. That's it. You're done.
Now, I want the audience to note that I was like, okay, if you don't want to use children as an example, Mark would not allow that because he has to straw man my position. Because it doesn't matter who the example are. I just use daddy and because we're talking about a family. It doesn't matter if they're adult children. It doesn't matter. And notice that I didn't say that they were minor children either. I just cited that they were children, that they were the children of the adult, of the dominant male. So Mark immediately assumed that they were minor children. Let's go with the argument that they were adult children so that his straw man cannot stand. So if daddy comes down to put an adult child in timeout for stealing too many snacks, the other adult children stand idly by. It doesn't matter.
What is an adult child? That's like a
so like my
paradox.
Son's 18, but he's still my child.
Okay.
My son, when I'm 78 and he's 49 or whatever, he'll still be my child. That'll be my adult child.
Okay. If you do something that's morally wrong by the standards of society, will your child still react and try and stop you?
I don't understand the question.
If you do something morally wrong, so what's morally wrong? If you hit somebody and proceed to kick them while they're on the ground, will your child stop you?
Yes. Because our society is not built on might makes right capuchin. I mean, I don't know. My family's not. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions about anybody else's upbringing. My dad tried to make might make right, but he was really a big softie and it didn't work out too well. But yeah, we don't live in that type of society, right?
And if your son or your child was beaten by you and knew that interfered, would they then intervene?
If my child, go on, repeat that question.
Your child was beaten by you on a regular basis all their lives and would be beaten if they tried to intervene, would they intervene?
Beaten by me and you mean like try to fight back?
Yeah, if they tried to stop you from beating the person on the ground and you'd beaten them all their life and you know...
Yeah, you could. I think you could instill a moral code in a child to make it so that they thought that was okay. You could. You could be a terrible parent and do that. Moral codes you can apply them to anybody. I think using it I think that concretes my position kind of in place. That it's behavior that's cultural, and if these animals can have cultures where a hierarchy defines what is right and what is wrong. That's their morality of what is right and what is wrong. And there's a reaction. It sounds like you're saying there was a standard reaction in this test where the other monkeys did not interfere. Maybe they weren't allowed to interfere. Maybe they didn't interfere. We don't know. But they had again responses that are analogous with humans. But this is why I quoted the book that I did about anthropocentrism. It's because when it comes to primate behavior, we evolved from them, and some of our behaviors are homologous with them. The way we communicate and interact with each other, even So
what I'm saying is that when we have a society like humans, something's morally wrong. We join, or something's morally right, like kicking that monkey out. We join in to support that moral behavior. We say, hey, that is right. We don't stand around and try to look small. That is more indicative of those monkeys not wanting to get hurt.
That's actually what we do. That's what humans do. That's literally what we call the bystander response. We always do. I mean, it's rare to not do it.
Of humans.
Well,
I think sort of you're talking again, and this is the fifth time, intra-group. So you're talking one group doing something to another group. If you've really noticed and paid attention, those groups, they don't accept the same behavior within that group, right? So
what you're saying, like the person, like if I live in a city and that city is my group, and someone jumps me on the street and nobody does anything, that's an reaction within my group, but they're called the bystander response. They're not immoral people. Those aren't immoral people that don't have any moral compassion for me. That's not what's happening there.
But will they help you?
They expect, because of the way our social system is built, that somebody is going to come, that Daddy Monkey is going to come down and break it up. They do the same thing that other monkeys do.
But they will call the police. They will, like, as long as they're not in danger, right? They will assist you. Right?
Sometimes, and sometimes they won't. Sometimes the police won't even assist you. I mean,
I don't think
the U.S. don't have to assist.
I'm talking about just the average person on, the majority of times people do get helped by somebody coming by. Now that might not be like jumping into something that might threaten them, but it will be some form of assistance kind of thing, that we will help one another because that is morally right according to our group. But what we don't see is the monkeys helping the leader do anything. And sort of saying, hey, they sat idly by is not an argument against it, because those monkeys will not do something, just like these monkeys will not do something that puts them in personal danger.
So only the people who interfere when everybody else has the bystander response. Only the people who interfere are moral people. That's what you're saying.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, then why are the monkeys not moral when they don't interfere?
Well, I never said they were. I didn't.
No, you said the monkeys weren't because they didn't
interfere. No, my point is they don't show the same level of action against that monkey response that is deemed to have broken the moral code.
They have the same response. You see the cops beating someone on the street.
Really?
People stand by.
After they've been kicked out, do they do anything for the other monkey?
I don't know. You're the one citing that's the response, that the authority comes in and deals with the transgressor and everybody else stands by, which is exactly what happens with humans. So you're saying humans are moral if they stand by.
I don't think that's the case all the time. I really don't think so.
Like if cops are beating someone on the street, people do stand by. You're talking about
that's a
authority?
Bit different.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's good, because we know in the case of George Floyd, people came and yelled at him and took photos of him and tried to say, "Hey, stop that."
Yeah,
right. So that just
that was why it was such a big. That's why George Floyd was such a big
deal.
Yeah,
but a lot of the time,
you think that all the time that when black people get beat on the street that people
No, I don't. But I think that humans will generally say that is wrong. We shouldn't be beating people on the streets. They will say, "Hey,
and maybe the monkeys will too," but you don't know their mind. But you're claiming
no, I don't.
Even though they have,
and you don't know their mind.
They have the same response that we do when we're standing by and letting whatever happen as part of our moral system.
Where are the instances?
They do the same thing.
Where are the instances of the Capuchins jumping in to do this stuff?
Oh, that's probably how they change social hierarchy. I bet when somebody does something like that and they push back against it. Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking with New World monkeys and how they behave. I'm not an expert, Mark. You brought this topic
I'm
up,
not an expert either.
You brought this topic up. I'm just trying to engage with you.
I am going to send love to both of our amazing debaters and interlocutors. It was a fantastic open discussion. I do want to remind everyone that their links are in the description. We're about to go into the Q&A, so please keep on tagging James W. or myself. Yeah, now they're starting to come in. So please,
Mark, I did see when you were doing your opening statement. I was taking notes, but I was watching the chat. You did sway some people. You were like, nobody's on my side in this, and you did. You did have some support.
No,
I'm just saying, bad arguments.
I'm just saying, through my trip through the YouTubes, it was Mark, you're going to get destroyed. How dare you stand up to Bre and claim to.
It's because everybody.
I you know what? I should have placed a bet on myself because obviously I won. So I would have won big time because of the odds. Yeah.
Listen.
No, I'm joking. I'm so joking.
You did really good tonight.
Look, all of it was really thought provoking. Like I get what you're saying. I just and I get what you're saying that I don't think that I'm anthropomorphizing anything, or I don't think I'm being sort of speciesist. I think that humans have a moral system that is so much more developed than anything we see anywhere else in the animal kingdom. Sorry.
Well, I will say we'll let Bre, you'll have like a word, but then I'm going to hand it to both of you to say your final statement on the topic, as well as what are your final thoughts?
Okay. As far as my word, human exceptionalism again. That's Mark just spelled it out. He said that I think humans are exceptional in this way. So yes, it is human exceptionalism, as I've been saying, and that's why. And I disagree that the characteristics that he's describing are exceptional to human. Maybe us having this specific suite that Mark. The suite of characteristics that Marx finds to be the foundations of morality is very prevalent in humans, but there are aspects of all those facets that are more prevalent in other species. We may have the empathy, like we talked about, but a dog, as we mentioned before, can mourn loss for years and years. So having an understanding of loss, and therefore the understanding of the consequences, and the understanding of how our behaviors are going to affect those around us and those within our society. And that was a good point that Mark was making about morality applying to groups. It's just how you apply it to groups, because there's groups within groups, and it's not universal in any group within humans or with animals on how we pair bond or group bond, and the way that those social behaviors flower into what we would call a moral system based on social interactions with the members of our society. And I guess that's all I got to say for this portion here.
And the other thing I wanted to add is you should both tell the community what you got going on the interwebs.
Okay. I have. So
do I get a closing, or is that just?
Oh no!
So as part of it,
I did.
Oh,
as
a part of the gotcha.
Yes, what I actually said at the beginning is I said, "Can both of you say your final statement and the ending?" And that was basically redundant. And so what I meant to say is, give your final statement and where you are on the internet.
There we go.
It wouldn't be moral to only let one of you guys have a closing.
Absolutely.
We're not animals, Mark.
Yeah. Well, technically we are, but
But yes, Bre, say where you are, and then we're going to give it to Mark.
I'm Bre from Hive Sci. I'm everywhere and anywhere on the internet. HIVE. SCI. That's me. I do a Saturday morning show. We just recently changed time slots. It's going to be a little bit later. We're going to start doing it at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We do Cryptic Corner, where we talk about paranormal, supernatural, all that kind of good stuff. And we have Creation Watch, where we look at some bad creation arguments and do some hive science and such. I have a show called What's the Buzz coming up as well on the 21st, where I have guests on. I'll be having Planner Walk on, and it'll be my first time having that person on my channel. And we're going to be looking at some Martian ruins. So it's going to be a fun time. All right, Mark, go ahead with your closer.
Ooh, not only
Alien
a closer,
Base
but
episode.
where you are on the internet. And I'm sorry, James.
Yeah. So we've been through a lot today, and I think while Bre knows a lot more about animals, she doesn't seem to understand the philosophical side of things. That when you're talking about moral systems, you're talking about moral choices and moral agents, things that are cognitively deciding to take an action or not take an action. That intrinsic kind of instincts are not moral choices or immoral choices. They are just instincts. These instinctive behaviors in humans are generally not as developed as in other animals. Some animals are better instinctually. Some animals are worse instinctually. To sort of say it's just exceptionalism, I think is missing the point. I think that humans are exceptional in their cognitive faculties as far as sort of thinking is concerned. And I don't think that's certainly exceptional in tool use. And even other things, like they're exceptional with the way that they can cool the bodies when they sweat. There's nothing abnormal about saying that or somehow putting humans above animals. The whole point is that we're just evolutionarily developed in a different way. Chimpanzees have a better short-term memory. They outperform us significantly, but they do not outperform us in the capabilities of cognitive thinking, design, planning, and tool use. They just don't. And I'm really sorry if Bre finds that upsetting, but that's just the fact of the matter.
Tool use is exceptional.
Okay, well, at least I got that concession for one. So when we're talking about moral systems, that their morals are a code of conduct. A system is a code of conduct that applies over the entire group. That we will have these cognitive expectations of people to follow those rules, not for some kind of benefit to ourselves, but for the betterment of the entire society. And they may be incorrect. They may be based upon fundamental flawed thinking. They may be completely different from group to group to group. And there is overlap between all of them. And morality is an incredibly complicated subject when we get into it. I just think that animals do not have the capability to implement that code of conduct over their society. And instead, they're relying on emotive reasoning like reciprocity and sort of empathy, which they do have. Like no one's arguing that, and sort of the basis, foundations, the roots of morality. No one's arguing they don't have that, but I still assert they do not have a moral system that would be analogous to a human moral system. Thank you. Oh, what have I got coming up? Yeah, so I've got aimbot coming up, which is where I go through some situations and try to use secular humanism to describe whether they who's in the right, who's in the wrong. I'm usually wrong, but that's fine. Just some fun off Reddit, just some good fun. The day after, I've got Beamsy and another geologist, Dr. Dino, coming on, or Dr. Dino, I'm sorry, coming on. To talk geology and flood mythology, see why that doesn't work. Oh, sorry, that one's tomorrow. The geology talk's tomorrow, and the aimbot is on Tuesday night. And then I'm interviewing Nathan, the flat earther, the nice flat earther, from on Thursday night.
Nathan
which no, Oakley's not the nice one. I can't remember his last name. I keep forgetting. No, it's a third Nathan who's actually a really nice guy. He's a very nice guy, actually. I do like talking to him. Nathans. I know, it's getting confusing. I think he's Luminal something. I can't remember exactly his name. I'm so sorry. But he's actually really nice. I've talked to him before. You've seen him on Modern Day Debate, haven't you, Amy?
Is it Nathan Thompson?
No.
No, because I was gonna say Nice wouldn't be the one that I exactly.
I know the guy you're talking about though, because I saw him in
Yeah.
a debate recently with, and he was really friendly and cordial and everything.
Yeah, I think he did a perhaps. Yeah, he's been around. I can't
I'm trying to
remember
remember who he was debating. Was he debating you? Have you debated him before?
Yeah, I've debated him before.
It was a 2-on-2 that I saw. It was on. Was it MDD?
Yeah, MDD. That would have been me and him against Flatoid or whatever his name is, Flatzoid or whatever his name. Yeah, and Nathan.
Who was your partner in that one?
Oh, who was my partner in that one? I think it was. God, they're all blurring together, aren't they?
You do a lot of debates, my friend. Thank you for carving out time for me.
No worries at all. I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought it was a lot of fun. Some really good points. You brought up some really good points. I mean, I still don't agree with you, but you did bring up some really good points.
Well, we still have many good points because we are about to switch into the Q&A.
No, I don't think it was easy.
See, I remember that debate, and I remember it being a good debate. But just like you are saying,
it was Leo. Of course, it was Leo. What am I thinking about? It was Leo. Yeah, it was Leo.
Okay, yeah, because you all were chuckling together about something Flatzoid, some of the stuff Flatzoid was saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, and Leo just did a debate against Hake, James Hake. Is it James Hake? Yeah. So that was like Leo crushed it. I kind of. I kind of was irritated at first that I had to watch Hake, but Leo made up for it. He was a beautiful man. Is trans affirmation right or something like that? Should we be trans affirming kind of thing? Yeah, so it was
at least half of the debate was.
Well, yeah, half of the debate was, and some of the stuff that came out of his mouth was insane. But Leo was on really good form, and he just really made a good pushback.
It was
amazing.
Like,
seriously. Yeah, Leo would just absolutely slapped him down so hard. So, well done.
I'm just disappointed because if James wanted it to be a 2-on-2, I was going to be Leo's partner in that one. So I missed my little window there to have that debate. But
well, it would have been frustrating. Like I was frustrated, and I was just watching the thing. I don't know, yeah.
Also, this is the rare sending love. We are switching the Q&A, but this is the rare time we get to say that we will be hosting any after show links in our description. I know the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server opens up, but if Bre or Mark are having their after shows, then we should all be going over there.
I didn't have anything planned, but
that's okay. It was a moment to be like, oh yeah, go over there, and both of you are like, yeah, I kind of have like other plans, like
yeah,
I gotta work in the morning, and I don't want to be in charge of something.
I got something to do this afternoon.
Exactly.
It's 1 o'clock here already. It's like, oh wow, that time flies. It was like 11 o'clock 2 minutes.
We got really heated there. That was that's why I was so excited. I was sweating. We got so heated. Because every debate I've had, it's been kind of more mellow, and we got to like, because
it was like rock sex.
Look, people are passionate about stuff. I love it. Whenever somebody's passionate about something, except maybe Hake and his fascism, maybe that is something I go, no, that's bad. But I love when people are passionate about stuff.
Well, I think we could have even switched which position we were taking on this argument and made compelling cases too. So, I mean,
I could certainly steel man your argument. Absolutely, no doubt.
I think I could steel man yours too, without even using the word anthropocentric at all. I'm gonna use that word in all of my debates moving forward.
Nice.
And all right, on that, we are going to start steel manning our lovely questions coming in. I want to thank both of our interlocutors. Their links are in the description. But with that, please tag James W. or myself at Amy Newman in chat. And super chats will get yours sent priority, including Native Atheist with a big $20. Thank you so very much, Native Atheist. What creationist in their right mind would debate Bre? Get Jill in here.
Is there a
My.
creationist
Oh
in their right
no.
mind? Anyone?
I've had altercations with Jill. There's actually one on my channel where I discuss with him his belief that cats are possessed by demonic spirits. It's a really good video, so go check it out.
Makes sense.
Wow.
Just when you think they can't
Objection.
go
Jill is not in
crazier.
his right mind.
Yeah.
You know,
When
if you're
think
looking
they
for a
can't get
Christian,
crazier, they say hold my Bud Light.
yeah. Well, Jill, like, you know, if you're looking for a Christian in their right mind or creationist in their right mind, it is not Jill you're after. Quite
And
frankly.
we did do really loose language on this debate to the chat out there who's like, oh, code, you need to define code of conduct and more. We just we were winging it. This was just for fun.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. We just decided on the title of we were going to go with yesterday. So we didn't define terms like we probably should have. And maybe next time I have this debate, I will make sure, because that did become a sticking point. I agree with Leo out there, the code of conduct and moral system and all that. We really did get our tires stuck in that.
Well, I did try to define stuff beforehand, but you're right. Code of conduct was something I didn't define. So yeah.
I think that there at least had to been some misunderstanding about what moral system was, because I thought I was laying them down pretty good. So yeah. Anyway, we got more questions, Amy?
We absolutely do. I also want to point out that Jill suffers from a rare syndrome called cutilitis, which only gets solved when you have your cootie shot. And I want to remind everyone that circle, dot, now you do have your cootie shot. It's the only way to protect yourself around women, which Jill is allergic to. Anyway, moving forward, a $5 super chat from Pseudonym. Thank you so very much. Mark, hypothetically, in the eyes of a Zidon, let's try his right turn.
Christian.
Yes. Would it seem you are saying humans are special creation for having a moral system versus animals?
No, absolutely not. So when you're sort of saying special, and this is sort of what I tried to clarify with Bre, when we sort of say special, really, I'm not saying that we're special as in we are somehow better than animals or somehow in a superior status than animals. It's we have very, very highly developed sort of cognitive processes that work really well for us and have become a very, very, very successful survival trait. Like I mentioned earlier, that chimpanzees, their short-term memory is exponentially better than ours. The average chimpanzee can do memory stuff so much better than us. It's incredible to watch. Look up a video of it sometime. It is amazing. But we have a different sort of thought process, and that lends itself well to creating these systems and creating these sort of social constructs that do help us. And in that, I think we are superior in that one facet over animals. But humans are a lot weaker. We're incredibly fragile. We don't have as good short-term memory. Our eyesight is very bad. There's the things that we're good at doesn't necessarily make us better. It just makes us different and specialized in a certain thing. So to get back to your question, no, it's not a special creation. It's a specialization over evolution in a certain facet of our biology and our sort of neurology and our sort of the way that we do things.
Thank you so much for that question, that super chat pseudonym, as well as that response, Mark. And then another big $5 super chat from Pat. Thank you so very much, Pat, for the support. He asked, does Mark consider moral systems as an incremental development in Homo sapiens? What about primate taboos regarding incest, biology, or morality?
Well, I think that stuff like that is instinctive. Like we have instinctive stuff that stops us from coming to harm, kind of thing. And I do want to say, like, yeah, I think it is incremental. I think that, like for instance, chimpanzees, they're currently going through a stone age with tool use. They're starting to use stone tools and pass them down to their offspring, which is significant, and it's sort of a new development or a newer development in what apes are doing and non-human primates are doing. So I think that as if chimpanzees develop and bonobos, of course, develop more communication, more of these sort of the tool use skills that humans do, and the cognitive abilities more on what humans do, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't implement their own moral systems. Like, I think that as we study evolution, we can sort of say back before tribalism, when it was just groups traveling around, nomadic behavior, that we did have probably the same moral system that or the same moral convictions, or the same moral foundations that animals did. But as we grew to be a more social species and in one spot and have to change socially, we have developed these systems to allow us to do that. I think that any animal under the same pressure would get to the same point. But I think there are some things that we just instinctively find morally wrong, just as we instinctively fear snakes and spiders. That's something that is instinctual for humans. And I think a lot of our behavior is, well, not a lot, but some of our behavior is instinctual. Like a baby will suckle just instinctively. And some of those behaviors are good for us, like, sort of a non-attraction to organisms that are too genetically close for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much, Pat.
Bre, you're muted. You're muted, Bre. I just see you talking there.
Oh, I just wanted to, can I just drop, because there's a study, I think, that Pat's referring to. It was with bonobos. They use sex as like social currency, right, within their groups, and there's a certain dynamics on who can have sex with who and what, and they actually have like a system set up. I believe, if I recall correctly, me and Pat were actually talking about this. It's the only individuals where there's a specific social taboo would be with an offspring and with a male offspring and their mother. So in their culture, their morality, like a female child can have sex with their mother, and it's not taboo within the framework of their society. So that's no.
But they draw the line on the sharing of genetic material
back with one's mother. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So there's, I mean, can that be innate behavior? Is that, I mean, that seems to be, is that your claim?
Yeah.
You think
that's what I would say. Yeah.
It's a natal. Yeah. So, okay. So you think that if they took the baby away and brought it back into the culture, that it would still have that instinct then?
Possibly, I guess. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing to look into. Yeah, to see if it would have
cruel, but sure.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, most of the stuff we do to animals is cruel.
Thank you so very much. I wanted to make sure, Mark, it was technically your question, so you just wanted, if you wanted to have a sentence.
What?
Oh, as long as you got all of your points out.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thanks, Annie.
We are moving forward for another $5 super chat from pseudonym. Bre, you describe dog morals in a family as a system, hypothetically in evolutionary standpoint. Does domestication change the moral system in dogs?
I think it does. I don't think a wolf would naturally have the drivers or capacity to bond or pair bond. They may be able to pair bond to humans to some capacity during their youth, but generally wouldn't, because what we got, our domestic dogs don't ever really grow up. So cognitively, they're like children all the time. So they don't reach that level where they're wanting to be their own boss, basically. And so it keeps them perpetually in a submissive role where they take moral cues from us. We tell them how our society is supposed to behave. We teach them what good dogs do with our language and our emote, the way we emote to them.
Thank you so very much for that response and for your support, Pseudonym, and everyone that has been sending in super chats. We are going to break into a few normal chats, and then we are going to head out because our interlocutors have been so amazing. However,
Been a lot of fun, though.
it has been. This has been a great debate. Once again, Mate would rate 8 out of 8. With that, we are going to, from Titan, your anus, the second best name on the internet next to Stupid Whore Energy. Question for Mark Reid. How does magnetism work?
How does that work? Yep. Dipolar magnetism? Sure. I think nobody knows. Literally nobody in the world knows.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, obviously. I didn't know that Titan had joined the insane clown posse, though. That's interesting.
Question for Ember. Or question from Ember.
Yeah.
For Bre, your video showed a dog saving a baby duck, a monkey saving a kitten. How can you explain this, knowing animals will only help animals they have a close bond with?
It's so there's a difference here between moral systems too. And I think that this is an example of it, is that so there's interspecific, which is between two different species, and then there's intraspecific within your own species. So you can have some level of moral obligation to act in a certain way towards members of other species as well, whether that's aggressively or empathetically. It's just the same thing like me and Mark talked about the hippo. I think you said something about the hippo chasing or did I say that? Chasing the lions away from the zebra. Things like that. You see, like, in this more of a hate for the I think it's more of a hate for the
lions. Yeah, they do the same with crocodiles as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think hippos are just being arseholes to the crocodiles, to be honest with you.
And it's like the opposite end of that is like the monkey and the kitten. It's that same empathetic drivers, and I think that it just is demonstrated within primates so prominently because they're so closely related to us. So we think the same things that are cute that they do. So they think kittens are cute. We think kittens are cute.
Thank you for that. And question from Leophilius. For both, are you a moral realist or a moral anti-realist, and does this affect your view with respect to morality in other animal species? For either.
Good question. Do you want to go first, Bre, or do you want me to grab it?
Repeat the question. So I was looking at all the juggalos in the side chat all of a sudden.
I completely understand. From Leophilius, what's up, Leo? Are you a moral realist or a moral anti-realist? And does this affect your view with respect to morality in other animal species? Question for both.
And from what I understand, I guess I'd be a moral anti-realist because I think that morals are just a more emergent property of the social aspects within social and probably within eusocial species. Obviously, we can't examine that too closely, but there is certain reactions within even eusocial species that could be considered altruistic. So, but that gets into the whole conversation of superorganisms, which so I can't be a moral realist just because of my outlook on reality itself.
Yeah, I'm a moral anti-realist, and yeah, probably. It definitely would sort of say that there's no entity handing down any kind of morality or proto-morality or moral system or any moral structure whatsoever to animals. I think that morality is, and at least the foundations of morality is a product of evolution. Like there's no question that empathy and reciprocity, which are sort of the foundations of what we consider right and wrong, are evolutionary traits, allowing us to sort of handle one another, deal with one another, be successful in our survival.
Thank you for those responses and the question. And then a question from It's a Rubiks. Bre continues to accuse Mark of being anthropocentric, but has she considered that she is anthropomorphizing the actions of animals?
Yeah, that was actually in the quote that I had in my opening statement from Franz Duell, who did all the research with the bonobos. Let's see if I can find the quote. I had it. Okay, yeah. The key point is that anthropomorphism is not always problematic as people think. To rail against it for the sake of scientific objectivity often hides a pre-Darwinian mindset, one uncomfortable with the notion of humans as animals. When we are considering species like apes, which are aptly known as anthropoids, human-like, however, anthropomorphism is in fact a logical choice. Dubbing an ape's kiss mouth-to-mouth contact is to avoid anthropomorphism deliberately, obfuscating the meaning of the behavior. So that's where I stand on it. Basically, they're anthropoids. They're within the realm of anthropomorphism. So applying that to apes, I mean, yeah, you should anthropomorphize apes because they're anthropoids.
Well, I also think that in this debate we're discussing morality, which is usually reserved for human actions, and we're sort of trying to determine, or we're arguing about whether a moral system is analogous to what the traits that animals display. I don't know how you are to avoid, if you are trying to determine if something is analogous, how you avoid contrasting human systems with animal behavior in that thing, because that's the debate. If we said, hey, you can't compare human behaviors to animal systems, then there wouldn't be a debate. But no, I get what you mean, though. And maybe I would likely sort of say maybe Bre is interpreting certain things in a humanistic way, but I understand why that is, because like her entire thing is to find an analogous behavior in animals to human moral systems. So
that's my position in the debate. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I was supposed to find. I was supposed to try to anthropomorphize, and Mark's supposed to try to not anthropomorphize. That's where.
yeah, I guess, yeah.
And all right, we're moving forward.
Maybe I should have just said no anthropomorphizing, and I would have won the debate. I knew it. I knew it. I always miss something.
Matasaro says or asks, awareness in humans has a spectrum, and some humans go through life really unaware. Is it possible what we would consider morals also is a spectrum?
Who's that to?
That looks like they did not put a
name. Well, I Bre did the first one first, so I'll do this one. So that's where sort of I was sort of making a thing to Lawrence Kohlberg's stages of moral development. Oh, okay, cool, no problem. So Lawrence Kohlberg's stages of moral development. So your conventional morality stage 3 and 4, which is do your duty and do it for me kind of thing, do it for someone you're bonded to, or you have an vested interest in doing, is basically where most people fall on the moral scale. 5 and 6 are sort of universal ethical principles and social contract are higher on that scale. So yeah, I am definitely going into And I mean, that's just a model. It's just a way of sort of designating the spectrum of moral things and making cutoffs in that spectrum. So, which is not to say that animals are completely immoral. They're not. That's my whole point, and I absolutely concede that sort of level. But what my argument is it doesn't rise to that level of 5 and 6, which is the social contract structure that humans have. So yeah, absolutely, I am on board with that 100%, that there is a spectrum of moral behavior. And as we go up towards the more cognitive and systematic implementation of those morals, we are going up to more and more true moral behavior within social animals. Did that make sense? I hope so.
Bre, did you want to have a response?
Yeah. Just letting that one resonate for just a second here with what Mark laid out there. As far as it being a spectrum, let me tell you, when I got into researching for this debate, I fell into a rabbit hole of this gray parrot experiment, or gray macaque experiment that they did, where they taught the parrots to use currency in exchange for food, and the parrots would distribute the tokens equitably whenever possible if given the opportunity to, and they'd have little holes they could pass the currency through to their friends who didn't have currency to buy food. So the fact that we can see that I brought up diaps as somebody, a species so far removed from our own, and they can also develop a system like that. And then it has to be back to our most basal ancestor across the spectrum of solitary, completely self-centered organisms versus completely altruistic individuals, right? So it has to be a spectrum. It can't not be. If we link it back to, if we agree that birds have moral systems, which I claim that they do. So, yeah.
Thank you so very much. From Stephanie, for Mark, if a dominant male believes he can grab females by the privates and get away with it because he's a celebrity, oh wow. The humans I just noticed it, like it was taking me as I read it.
Really?
He's a bail bondsman. He can get away with it too.
Do humans get to elect him? Okay, I'm setting so much.
Well, that one's interesting because you have a number of different groups within that society, right? You have certain groups that are supportive of this individual, and you have certain groups that aren't supportive of individuals, and they have a different moral system for each of them, obviously. So we've got ones in one moral system that will not condone that behavior, but everybody in the other group will condone that behavior kind of thing. And because he is implemented into both systems in a larger kind of area of, that country that we've designated as one group, and that designation doesn't, there's no specific reason why we've designated that. It's just that's the way we've designated it. That we disagree. But if you look at the smaller groups, they will be ubiquitous that, hey, that's fine that he said that, or no, it's not fine that he said that. And all of them will act appropriately to their belief within their social group. I don't think anyone's going to disagree that we've seen more and more these social groups drawing apart, and we call them left and right, and, yeah.
That's socialism. Sorry.
Look, if you say socialism too many times, Leo appears and talks.
I know. I was just thinking.
And
I'm joking, Leo. I love you, man. And I know that's a
Leo.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Leo.
That we have 10, 15, so 30, 35 if we were doing it. So 10 or 15 more minutes left in the super chat. So if you want to get your burning desire question guaranteed to be read, send in those super chats. But
we got Church of Entropy out there. Good to see Jen.
What is up, Jen?
Hey, Jen.
Hey.
A question from from Leophilia, speaking of which, for Mark, at
Speak of the
what
devil.
age do humans become morally responsible?
Well, what age do humans become morally responsible? I would say around the teenage years, so about from sort of 12, 13 onwards, we kind of hold them morally responsible. We may sort of before that say, well, they don't know any better. They haven't had the experience to be able to implement these moral systems that we expect of them. So if a sort of 4-year-old burns something, we say, but I mean, it does vary with the behavior and sort of what the expectation is. Some behavior we sort of automatically expect them to know very, very young, but some we don't. So yeah, I guess it depends.
Thank you so very much, Leo and Mark. And from Pat,
what age does a dog become morally responsible?
I have no idea. I don't think a dog is morally responsible. I think I would hold their owner morally responsible for what happens, not the dog, right? Like if a dog bites you, they haven't been well trained, and then it's the owner's fault.
But do you think in that situation, do you think the other dog holds that dog morally responsible?
I don't know. I've never spoken to a dog.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm derailing. We got questions.
I wouldn't be able to tell. Like, how would I tell that?
Well,
passion.
Because there can be like a situation where a dog does something, or a dog bites, and the other dogs have thereafter behave differently towards that dog, right? If they see it bite another dog, they will.
Yeah, but the question is whether that behavior is on you hurt my friend or something that I care about, and I'm angry at you too. That is unacceptable behavior. Like I don't know how you could possibly tell what that dog is actually thinking. I outlined that in my presentation as part of the problem. We don't know the intentionality of animals. We just don't.
Yeah. We need more study into the brain activity going on.
We need Dr. Doolittle is what we need. We need to be able to read their minds.
Question from Pat. Why do primates appear to mourn their dead, with some mothers grieving for their dead, while others within the same troop do so for much shorter periods of time?
Who's that to?
I believe that. It does say question for both.
Okay.
I'll start this one then, since you got the last one. So I would say that within the troop, individuals have their own personalities and own behaviors. There's as much variability, and there's versatile in their behaviors even within the troop as humans are within their family group as well. So as you might mourn the loss of your parent longer or shorter than your sister or brother may, it depends, and it could depend on their interpersonal relationships between the individuals, how long they had the baby, right? How long it survived for, how many babies they've raised before. There may be a lot of factors that are going to come into why they have the emotional responses that they do.
I would actually agree with Bre. Actually, I think that individuals within a group can mourn more or less time. I think that humans sort of uniquely have an expectation for people to mourn. Like people will go, "What, you aren't sad about your ex passing or whatever that you were close to?" That we would see that as maybe immoral, but I don't think that's necessarily something that animals would or wouldn't do. I have no idea what what goes on. So. But the bigger question, and the one that I actually wanted to answer, is that's not the question. The question is, why do we mourn at all? Like, sort of from an evolution standpoint, what's the point of mourning? Like, why is that a thing at all? It may just be a side effect of having such a close bonding process within our species. It might be, and sort of I read a paper by somebody who suggested, and they don't know this for sure, so I'm not claiming to know, but they sort of suggested that perhaps it could be a way for us to reinforce the knowledge that we got from those people, that if their passing is significant, it will more sort of imprint the lessons that they learned onto us, which I don't know for sure, but it was definitely interesting. But yeah, I think the bigger question is, why does anything mourn? And I think that's really interesting.
Thank you, both of our interlocutors. And moving along, and thank you, Pat. Question from James Wolfe for Mark and Bre. Does an important distinction exist in the sense that humans have, quote, philosophically grounded moral systems of that to some degree overlap amongst cultures?
Sorry, could you read that again?
Yes. Does an important distinction exist in the sense that humans have philosophically grounded moral systems? Oh, I'm trying to think. I think he actually said that he wanted to reword it. And let me catch up to his rewording. Let me see. Revise question for both. Does an important distinction exist in the sense that humans have philosophically informed moral systems which to some degree overlap amongst cultures?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is significant that a lot of these things that we do hold morally true, or sort of moral overlap between systems. But there's always sort of systems that are exceptions to the rule. But I think it is significant. If you're sort of asking whether sort of animals have philosophical foundations for their morality, we have no idea. Like, we just don't know. It's impossible to tell. We can only sort of tell by their behavior, and that doesn't give us a lot of indication of what their cognitive processes are. But I think it is but as Bre has pointed out, there's sort of as a moral foundation there are behavioral similarities between what capuchin monkeys do from different troops. But the question is there a philosophical basis for that? I don't know. Next time you talk philosophy with a capuchin, let me know. I have no idea. I don't think so. I don't think that animals rise to that level of rationality, logic, and sort of from their behaviors we can tell that they're essentially working on emotion. But a lot of humans work on emotion as well, so that's not exactly indicative. But yeah, I think it is significant. I'm not sure how much significance though.
Now, I don't think the overlap is just between cultures of people, though. That's kind of what the whole crux of my position is. I think the overlaps between species, and it's all graded out on, how much, what levels of, again, it's depending on, whether you're social and how much empathy you can exhibit and things like that within your species, within your population is going to be graded out. There's things that we might have that are more similar between us and a specific group of animals than it is between us and a specific group of people on the other side of the world, at least at a point in time when we were less integrated as a species. So when there were people groups that were scattered across the world, they had different moral standards, and some groups were like, oh yeah, you can eat individuals of another group, but there's species of ravens that won't do that, right? So the fact that we have this moral standard in common with ravens and not in common with this other people group, does that mean that us and ravens are moral and then this other people group are not? No, it means that we each have our own individual standard within our culture. So yes, it's graded out. And again, I keep using the bird example because that gives us all the way back to the beginning of the Triassic for these characteristics to evolve.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, there is sort of parallel evolution, right? There's whatchamacallit.
Oh, it's definitely parallel evolution. It has to be, right. That's exactly right. This is something that evolves independently in social species, regardless of their pedigree, as long as they get the high enough brain function to I guess, kind of understand the consequences of actions within a group. Then you get a moral stand. Then that's the framework, right? To understand that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not arguing that animals have a moral framework or a moral foundation. It's the implementation of that system that I'm doubtful over.
And all right, we only have like 2-ish questions left. They all come from Pat. And so I'm going to try and give one. I know.
Thank you, Pat.
Sending
Thanks,
so
Pat.
much love. I'm going to try and give one or so to Mark and one or so to Bre, which means unless a super chat comes in, these are the last questions of the night. Like a spicy... Well, let's do in the opposite order. Oh my. Well, yes, Bre, and the group reacts to attempts of a young male. You know what? I can't do it backwards. All right. So Mark is 100% wrong in his assertion. Numerous studies of this phenomena. While some people will help rescue responses, they are not the majority. Most will watch. Spectator. I'll read that
Can you
again.
repeat that, sir? Yeah.
He's coming after you. It's with love. He's coming after you with love. Mark is 100% wrong in his assertion. Numerous studies of this phenomena, while some people will help. He also tagged in another statement before that was said, Mark's argument about non-moral status.
Is he talking about the bystander effect?
Children is false. We hold children to a reduced level of legality because they aren't morally mature, but they are moral agents.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why you're sort of mixing up maturity, legality and morality. It's really got nothing to do with one another. I'd rather just put legality aside. I get that you're using it to express a point, but it's really got nothing to do with it. So yeah, they do have a reduced amount of influence over their morality, and that's why I had that picture. I don't know if you're there from the start, but I had that layers of morality, and that is pre-conventional morality that you're talking about. We don't necessarily hold a child responsible depending on what they do and what their age is. Like, you wouldn't morally hold a baby responsible for soiling its diaper. You wouldn't necessarily hold a child responsible for lighting a fire if you left a lighter somewhere and they don't know what it is. You've got to understand that this is sort of a gradient system that we're looking at, that as a human gets older, it understands more and more morality, and it's held morally accountable for more and more. I'm not saying there's a cutoff point where suddenly you're just not a moral agent. You are, but it's sort of like some like a very, very young child may not be a moral agent. They might not understand anything about morality. We don't blame them for not understanding.
Can you be a moral agent and still not be morally responsible? Just because you're a moral agent, maybe it isn't indicative of your moral responsibility?
No, I think you have to be morally responsible for your actions to be a moral agent. You must have responsibility for the choices that you make in order for those to be meaningful at all. Like, a meaningfully moral choice has to have some kind of responsibility for that choice.
And that's a switch. It's a yes or no. It's not.
If you're not responsible for the choice, right? If you've got no responsibility whatsoever for the choice, then you're not making a moral choice. If it's not your fault that someone holds a gun to your head and says, "Hey, you have to do this, or else this will happen," Yeah, I don't know.
Can you be morally responsible? I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you be more responsible about some decisions that you make and some actions that you take, but not all of them? Like you're morally responsible to not steal a cookie from the cookie
I suppose
jar.
so. I guess so.
But,
yeah.
And okay, I'm going to allow Bre, because you were tagged, to have a follow-up, but it's going to be your last comment as I give a last super chat to Mark at the end. More love coming in. But Pat also wanted to agree with Bre, tagging me saying, yes, Bre. And the group reacts to attempts of a young male who attempts to mate with his mother when it occurs.
Yeah, that's that bonobo study. When a male would attempt to follow through with the mating ritual that these primates do, if we try to follow through with that act with his mother, the rest of the troop reacts negatively to him. They admonish him for such behavior as being presumably immoral. Obviously, there's like Mark conceded genetic factors for that, so. I don't think me and Mark are in disagreement about that at all, that there's maybe some genetic driver. Now, whether that genetic driver is moral, I say, or is group morality, which is the other individuals enforcing a moral code upon him, I say yes. I say that's a demonstration of that, but maybe Mark says something different.
Well, I have a whole bunch. I have just some ending love that we are getting in here. The first is just a very serious question from Stephanie for Mark. If a bunch of monkeys on the subway watch a dominant male monkey chokehold another monkey for 15 minutes without intervening, are they Capuchins or New Yorkers?
Well, I haven't seen many Capuchins on the New York subway, so I'm probably going to say New Yorkers. But yeah, I get your point, but we still know that people in our social group disapproved of that action. We found it all morally reprehensible. So, that while we can't ask the Capuchins, I get that, but I'm saying humans did find people did find that morally reprehensible.
And then we have our last normal question and our super chat. I normally do the super chats first. We are holding this super chat because it's so special that it's going to be our landing one. But our last normal question from Pat. Mark, given your reliance upon Kohlberg, where specifically did humans cross the line in their development fully into developed moral actors? Stage 5, stage 6?
Oh, I have no idea. When did we cross the line? Sorry, could you read that again?
Absolutely.
I guess how they want to know how many those boxes on your checklist, or was it 7?
So it says, given your reliance upon Kohlberg, when specifically did humans cross the line in their own development to fully develop moral actors?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. So stage 6 kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So that's universal ethical principles. So probably in the advent of sort of, I honestly don't know. So, possibly during some of the great thinkers of Greece and things like that. Were there people that crossed that line before that and we didn't know of them? Sure, maybe. I honestly don't know. Somewhere in the development we reached universal moral principles, but how far back does that go? I don't know. Is thou shalt not kill a universal moral principle?
And all right, this is the last question of the night. I want to thank Bre and Mark. That's right. And I really want to thank Dr. Dino for sending in the love and support. We really are made possible because of all of the viewers, subscribers, and super chats like you. And of course, these lovely debaters. But Doctor, a $5 super chat, wants to know, what non-anthropod communal animal would you choose to reincarnate as, if you could? Also excited for tomorrow, Mark.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let that be for both of you. If you could be reincarnated into a non-anthropod communal animal, what would it be?
I'm going with a corvid, raven, crow, something along that line, where I could still have a close-knit family group who loved and cared for me and stuff like that.
Would you consider a cat a communal animal? I
can for this
maybe a dog. That I just like. I think that like being just taken care of, sounds awesome. So yeah, but if not, I would probably go for something. I guess like a meerkat. I guess. Oh, how about a quokka? They like live on an island and they've got no natural predators and they just get fed stuff by tourists who shouldn't feed them, by the way. They get fed. So maybe a quokka.
Do you know what a quokka does when it faced with a predator, though?
It throws its poo at them. I throw its babies at them, I think, is what the mothers do.
Yeah, we need to talk about quokka moral systems. Or is it
sure.
do you all say quokka down there?
It's quokka.
I always thought it was quokka, but
no, quokka.
Quokka. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, with that, it is going to conclude our Debate Me, Brah on do animals have a moral system. I do want to thank.
Did we get a resolution? Did we resolve it?
We resolved it. This is what we do. We finally have come to.
Glad you've been keeping up, James.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out that both Bre and Mark's channels are in the description below. So if you're like, hey, I really like what I heard tonight, well, you can go get more. I do want to thank them for joining us. I want to thank everybody in chat, our awesome mods who make this stream so great, and of course, viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoy the show, please don't forget to like. It goes out in the algorithms. Follow on Twitch or subscribe on YouTube. You hit that bell icon, and then you'll actually get reminders to see premieres or to join our live streams, like sending love, y'all. And we'll say goodbye to you. Hopefully, as you say goodbye, we'll show it on screen. But I think, and then there's the membership and all of the funny shilling stuffs with all that. Our Patreon. Oh my goodness, we have a show on here that allows you to get your own show. Talk Skeptic to Me if you're a channel member or a Patreon. And this is our Patreon.
That's our Patreon.
Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video is done? You can also join our Discord at the description below. It has our channel members, Patreons, and the girl deck, where if you're 2 out of 3, including things like Twitch subscribership, you get unique perks. We'll come back on very soon, in the past few days with even more fantastic content. But, I think this has been Debate Me, Brah, and we will see you all on the next... Oh, I want to also thank the man with a plan, James W. We will both be back. My co-host, we will both be back with all sorts of more fun. We love you all. We will see you all in the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night. Yeah, we'll come back with more premieres. Gosh darn it. More premieres. But yes, go check out Bre and Mark's channels. Love you. Good night.